recent months, a series of large-scale military drills across different regions has drawn global attention, not just for their scale, but for what unfolded during and around them. From Asia to Africa and the Middle East, these exercises were meant to signal preparedness and deterrence. Instead, in several instances, they triggered concern, confusion, and geopolitical tension. The world has been on edge as military drills, once considered routine displays of preparedness, have taken on new meaning amid rising global tensions. In 2026, these exercises are no longer isolated training events. They are unfolding against the backdrop of real conflicts, territorial disputes, and shifting alliances. What used to be predictable demonstrations of force are now layered with political messaging, strategic signaling, and at times unintended consequences that ripple far beyond the training grounds. In the Indo-Pacific, one of the most closely watched exercises has been the Balikatan drills, involving the United States and the Philippines, along with several allied nations. The scale alone is striking. More than 17,000 troops participating, supported by advanced missile systems, surveillance platforms, drones, and coordinated amphibious assault simulations. These exercises, conducted annually, have steadily grown in both size and complexity, reflecting the changing security landscape in the region. The drills are officially described as defensive, aimed at improving coordination and readiness among allied forces. But their location, near the disputed South China Sea and within strategic proximity to Taiwan, has amplified their geopolitical significance. Observers note that geography, in this case, is as important as the military maneuvers themselves. Conducting exercises in such sensitive waters sends a message, whether intended or not. Tensions escalated further when China responded with its own military activity in nearby waters, deploying naval vessels and aircraft to conduct combat readiness patrols. The patrols aim to safeguard territorial claims and regional stability, Chinese military officials stated, referring to their naval and air operations near the Scarborough Shoal. The response was swift and deliberate. Analysts interpreted it as both a reaction to the drills and a preemptive signal, an assertion that China would not remain passive in the face of increasing allied military coordination near its claimed territories. On the other side, officials in the Philippines dismissed China's claims and messaging, suggesting that the reaction itself was part of a broader strategy to assert dominance in contested waters. These claims are disinformation intended to assert unlawful control, Philippine authorities argued. This exchange highlights a recurring pattern in modern geopolitics, competing narratives layered over military activity. Each side frames its actions as defensive and lawful, while portraying the other's moves as provocative or illegitimate. The result is not just a military standoff, but an information battle playing out in parallel. The situation illustrates how drills designed to simulate conflict can begin to resemble the real thing when conducted in sensitive regions. Warships maneuvering in close proximity, aircraft operating in contested airspace, and overlapping claims create an environment where the margin for error is extremely thin. Meanwhile, another development during military exercises raised entirely different concerns, this time about safety and preparedness. In Morocco, during the African Lion 2026 drills, 2 American soldiers went missing under unexpected circumstances. The exercise itself is one of the largest multinational drills in Africa, involving troops from the United States, NATO allies, and several African nations. It is designed to strengthen interoperability, improve counter-terrorism capabilities, and enhance regional security cooperation. But the incident did not occur during active combat training. Instead, it happened during what was described as an off-duty moment, underscoring how risks persist even outside structured operations. A massive search operation involving helicopters, ships, divers, and mountain rescue units has been launched, officials confirmed, as efforts intensify to locate the missing personnel. Disappearance quickly became a focal point of concern, shifting attention from the broader objectives of the drills to the immediate urgency of the search effort. Rescue teams worked across challenging terrain, highlighting the logistical complexity of operating in unfamiliar environments. This incident exposed a critical but often overlooked aspect of such exercises, the unpredictability of real-world conditions. Military drills may be meticulously planned, but they take place in dynamic environments where variables such as weather, terrain, and human factors cannot be fully controlled. The scale of the response, spanning air, sea, and land, demonstrated how seriously such incidents are treated. It also illustrated the level of coordination required when multiple nations are involved, each bringing its own resources, protocols, and chains of command. At the same time, the Middle East has seen its own surge in military activity, with drills closely intertwined with actual conflict dynamics. The United States has significantly increased its military presence in the region, marking one of the largest build-ups in recent history. Aircraft carrier strike groups, advanced fighter jets, missile defense systems, and additional ground forces have been deployed across key strategic locations. This build-up is not occurring in isolation. It is directly linked to escalating tensions with Iran, which have already resulted in confrontations earlier in the year. Military exercises in this context are not just preparation. They are part of ongoing strategic positioning. They serve as both a demonstration of capability and a signal of intent, reinforcing deterrence while also preparing for potential escalation. Iran, along with Russia and China, has also conducted joint drills in critical waterways such as the Strait of Hormuz. These exercises involve coordinated naval maneuvers, aerial operations, and simulated defense scenarios, reflecting a growing alignment among the participating countries. The implications are significant. When drills involve multiple major powers in contested or strategically vital regions, they carry weight far beyond routine training. They signal alliances, test coordination, and, perhaps most importantly, send a message to other actors in the region. Back in South Asia, the situation has also been tense, with reports of civil defense drills being conducted amid what has been described as a war-like situation. These drills differ from traditional military exercises. Instead of focusing on combat operations, they emphasize civilian preparedness, evacuation procedures, emergency response coordination, medical readiness, and communication systems. They are designed to ensure that in the event of a crisis, the civilian population can respond effectively and minimize casualties. However, their timing is telling. Conducted amid heightened tensions, including cross-border incidents and increased drone activity, these drills reflect a broader sense of unease. They suggest that governments are preparing not just their militaries, but their populations for the possibility of escalation. Such drills often serve a dual purpose: practical preparation and psychological signaling. On one hand, they equip civilians with the knowledge and tools needed in an emergency. On the other, they send a message both domestically and internationally that the situation is being taken seriously. What ties all these developments together is a broader shift in how military drills are perceived. Traditionally, these exercises were routine, scheduled, and largely predictable. They followed established patterns and were often viewed as necessary but unremarkable components of military operations. Today, however, they are increasingly seen as extensions of geopolitical strategy. They serve multiple roles simultaneously, demonstrating military capability, reinforcing alliances, testing new technologies, and sending political signals to adversaries. Each exercise is carefully calibrated, not just in terms of military objectives, but also in terms of the message it conveys. But as recent events show, they also carry risks, both in terms of miscalculation and unintended consequences. For example, in the Indo-Pacific, the proximity of opposing forces during drills increases the likelihood of accidental encounters. A misinterpreted maneuver, a communication breakdown, or a technical malfunction could escalate rapidly, particularly in an environment where tensions are already high. In Africa, the disappearance of soldiers underscores the human risks involved, even outside combat scenarios. It serves as a reminder that military operations, whether real or simulated, take place in environments that can be unpredictable and, at times, unforgiving. And in the Middle East, where tensions are already elevated, the line between drills and actual military operations is becoming increasingly blurred. Exercises conducted in such contexts are often indistinguishable from preparations for real conflict. Another key factor is the growing complexity of these exercises. Modern war drills are no longer limited to basic troop movements and live-fire exercises. They now incorporate cyber warfare simulations, unmanned systems, artificial intelligence, space-based surveillance, and integrated operations across multiple domains: land, sea, air, cyber, and space. This complexity increases both their effectiveness and their unpredictability. Coordinating such multifaceted operations requires precise communication and synchronization, particularly when multiple countries are involved. In the Balikatan drills, for instance, the inclusion of multiple nations, some participating for the first time, reflects a shift toward multilateral defense strategies. This approach enhances collective security, but also introduces new challenges in terms of coordination and interoperability. There is also a psychological dimension that cannot be ignored. Military drills are as much about perception as they are about preparation. They shape how countries view each other's intentions and capabilities. A large-scale exercise can be interpreted as a show of strength, a warning, or even a precursor to more aggressive actions. When one country conducts a major drill, others may feel compelled to respond, not necessarily because of an immediate threat, but to avoid appearing unprepared or vulnerable. This creates a cycle in which each action prompts a reaction, gradually escalating tensions. This dynamic is clearly visible in regions like the South China Sea, where military activity by one side is quickly mirrored or countered by another. The result is a constant state of alertness, where the line between routine activity and potential conflict becomes increasingly blurred. Experts often refer to this phenomenon as escalation through signaling. Each side believes it is acting defensively, but the cumulative effect is a steady increase in tension and suspicion. In such an environment, even minor incidents can take on outsized significance. A missing soldier, a misfired missile, or an unannounced maneuver can quickly become the focus of international attention, raising questions and fueling speculation. Despite these concerns, governments continue to defend the necessity of these drills. They argue that in an increasingly uncertain world, readiness is essential. Military officials emphasize that these exercises improve coordination among allies, enhance response capabilities, and deter potential aggression by demonstrating strength and preparedness. And there is merit to this argument. History has shown that preparedness can act as a deterrent, reducing the likelihood of conflict by making the costs of aggression clear. However, the events of 2026 suggest that the balance is becoming more delicate. The key question now is whether these drills are stabilizing or destabilizing. On one hand, they strengthen alliances, improve readiness, and enhance the ability to respond to crises. On the other, they contribute to an environment of constant tension where every move is scrutinized and often misinterpreted. The incidents during recent exercises, from geopolitical standoffs in the Indo-Pacific to unexpected emergencies in Africa and heightened military activity in the Middle East, highlight the complexity of modern military strategy. They also underscore the interconnected nature of today's world. An event in one region can have ripple effects elsewhere, influencing perceptions, decisions, and actions on a global scale. In the end, what happened during these war drills is not just about isolated events or individual incidents. It reflects a broader reality. The world is entering a phase where preparation for conflict is increasingly indistinguishable from the early stages of conflict itself. As military exercises continue to grow in scale, complexity, and strategic significance, the stakes will only get higher. The challenge for global leaders will be to navigate this environment carefully, balancing the need for preparedness with the imperative to avoid unnecessary escalation. Because in today's geopolitical climate, even a drill can raise eyebrows and sometimes set off a chain of events that goes far beyond the exercise itself.